Hey there, Derek Rydall, founder of the Law of Emergence and author of the best-selling books Emergence and the Abundance Project. And I just really quickly want to tell you about what's going to be happening on March 30th. I'm going to make a big announcement and I'm going to release something that's going to really help you to master the energy and the capacity to manifest your needs no matter what conditions you're facing. What I'm going to release and talk about is something that emerged through me, a download that came through me in the midst of a major recession and a major crisis when I was broke, I was broken, bill collectors were calling, I was about to be evicted, and I was literally living on a prayer. So I can't wait to share this with you. But today I want to talk about the fact that we're living in a simulation and how to escape it. And I want to start just by inviting you, if you can, to take a breath into your heart. And as you release it, just let go of any residue of the past, including the past moment. And take another breath in. And let go of any concern for the future, including the future moment, the very next moment. And take another breath into your heart as you release any attachment, even any attachment to the present conditions, the present moment. Just feel the weight of the tenses of time falling off your shoulders. Really allow your shoulders to drop. Allow your belly to soften. You're releasing the past, which is just a memory. You're releasing the future, which is really just a fantasy. And you're releasing even the present moment, what we call the present conditions, which is mostly imagination. Just breathe and let go. And be aware of the breath. Be aware that you are aware. Be aware that you are awareness itself. And that right now, this real now, with that breath, with that awareness, there is no problem. Right now, as you're breathing and becoming aware of this now moment, the breath, the awareness, that there's nothing missing. You are complete. All of your needs are met right now, in this now, not in the next now, not in the now that is corrupted by future, which is fantasy, not in the now that is corrupted by past, which is memory, but this now, this breath, this present now moment awareness, all of your needs are actually met. And you might say, oh no, you don't understand, I have bills to pay. You don't understand, I just lost my job, or I might lose my job. Or you don't understand, I'm in a fight with my wife. No, in this now, this breath, all of your needs are met. And I want you to just give yourself permission to feel what that feels like. To feel what it feels like to relax into this now. Where the only need is breath. The only need is awareness. And you have that and so much more. And let yourself feel the peace, the release, the relaxation, and maybe even the expansion which is abundance, of having everything you need right now. And we're going to talk more about this, but the idea is going to be that as you are able to allow yourself to really drop down into this now, the real now, not merely the present. The present is still a tense of time, past, present, and future, but the now is extemporal. It's out of time. In the now, there is no problem. All problems exist in time. And time is a function of the mind, of the simulation of the mind. You see, the past, and I know you've heard this, but I really want you to hear it for the first time, and maybe you haven't heard it, but the past is a memory. And you've never, ever actually had a past. You've never been to the past. You've never actually touched the past. Even from the moment you were born, there never was a past. It's only ever been a mental construct and a mental concept. I really want you to just continue to breathe and really drop in with me. I know this may sound a little airy-fairy to some. It may sound a little mystical and down the rabbit hole, and to a certain extent it is. But I want you to just stay with me here to begin to catch the actual truth of what I'm saying, which can be caught through long hours and years of meditation where I've actually seen and experienced it. But I want you to feel and receive the transmission that I'm giving you right now. I want you to lean into the frequency of what I'm saying, because these aren't words only. That there is no past, and there never was, and there never will be. Likewise, there is no future, for real. You'll never get there, you'll never touch it. What you call the future is a fantasy. And most of what you experience in your present, both in terms of the conditions, which are coagulated thought forms, and your perception of those conditions, is imagination. So what do I mean by this? Let me break it down a little bit more. So memory, as we form memories, i.e. a past, i.e. a history, his story or her story, we begin to carry it with us. And that at first, within the first moment, that becomes what we call our present. The present, if you had one moment when you were born, and then the second moment, what you call your present and experience as present is the past or the memory of the previous moment that becomes manifest. It becomes manifest as your inner experience, your perception. It becomes manifest as an emotion. It becomes manifest as a psychoneurobiological response. And then it becomes manifest in the field as actions or literal conditions, right? We're just looking at moment one, moment two of existence in this 3D realm. Then moment three, now you're carrying not only that first memory, but now the second memory that was based on your imagination of the present moment. And that now becomes what you imagine this moment to be. You follow? And then at a certain point, when we actually individuate from our mother and we start to get a sense and an idea, we have metacognition that we can think about our future. Now we begin to project the past, the memory, and our current imagination or condition into what we call now future. And we start to build a fantasy. Okay? If I got hurt when I did X in the past or in my memory, now I begin to project that's going to happen in my future or fantasy. And then you keep following that, and eventually what happens is that the memory or past meets the future or fantasy, and it starts to mix and create even a more dynamic present moment imagination. And that imagination now becomes a storyline. I'm a character of such, living in the play called such and such, about such and such, and I'm now protecting, preserving, coping, striving based on memory and fantasy. That creates my present moment story. And you can think of it like the film strip of a movie. The light of your pure now being that is unconditioned and unconditional, infinite and eternal, is now shining through the film strip, the filter of your storyline, which is this conglomeration of perceptions of past or memory and future fantasy. It's now a story. It's now running across the light of your true I am being, projecting onto the screen of your experience. And that's what we call our present. Okay? And that is the simulation of the mind. That is the matrix that we're all caught in to a greater or lesser degree. And then what happens is we look at that on the screen of our experience, the condition, and our inner screen of our mind, the story, and now we determine based on that, who am I? Where am I going? What can I do? What can't I do? What should I do? What shouldn't I do? What's right? What's wrong? What's good? What's bad? What will keep me alive? What will help me thrive? You follow? And then out of that comes all kinds of coping mechanisms, protective, defensive mechanisms, strategies, tactics. And we're seeking to manage and control the story, the condition. The problem is, it's not real. Now, I'm not saying conditions aren't facts. I'm not saying put your head in the sand or your head in the clouds. I'm not saying do a spiritual bypass. If you're watching this at the present moment, I'm not saying that the global pandemic is not happening, or the global economic crash is not happening, or if there's something going on with your body or your bank account or your business or your family. Those are facts, but the facts are not the truth. And here's why it's important. You have to see the facts as they are, not more than they are. And you have to do what you can to mitigate the downside of the facts, or to be a good steward of the facts, of the conditions. So I want to be very clear so nobody thinks I'm saying there's no problem, nothing's going on, because it is. And it's real to the extent that you're having an experience and it hurts. Or maybe it's great and it's wonderful. Even the wonderful, great stuff is just as much a simulation and an imagination as the terrible stuff. When it comes to your story in your mind that is made up of your past and your future, your memory and your fantasy, and the condition that you've created as a projection of your imagination. That's what's really going on. And why that's important is because if you continue to look at the story in your mind, the screen, the inner screen that's playing the movie, or the story in your life, the outer screen that's got the conditions and experiences, and you let that be the determining factor of who you are and what's real and what you're going to believe in and what you're going to do with your life, you are stuck in the matrix. You are stuck in a simulation. You are stuck in Maya, in the dream. Now, you can have a great dream or you can have a nightmare, but it's still a dream. And you can make your dreams better, right? Once you go lucid in your dream, you can actually you can do a lot of stuff with your dream. But it's still a dream. And you're still believing that what's happening outside is actually a power over you or a source of safety, security, support, and supply. And now you're going to make decisions. Who am I going to be? What am I going to do or not do? What am I going to invest my time, talent, and treasure in? You know, how am I going to show up to this relationship or this project? You're always going to be in a reaction. You're always going to be, you're not going to actually be coming from a place of agency, coming from a place of proaction, coming from a place of power and of leadership, right? You'll be a problem solver, and you might even be a great problem solver, but you will never be a vision holder or a vision liver or a vision leader. And as Einstein said, you can't solve the problems actually at the level of thinking that caused them, so you'll always have the same problems. You'll get a bigger paycheck because you solved that problem, and then you'll be just broke at a higher income bracket later. There's a reason why we keep experiencing the same problems over and over in our individual and collective lives, because the problem is an emblem. It's symbolic of a state of consciousness, of a storyline that's living and vibrating in a certain frequency. Like ice is below 32 degrees. No matter how many times you solve the problem of ice, as long as you're living below 32 degrees, you're going to keep having the problem of ice or the fear of ice, and therefore you're going to use all of your creative energy to keep protecting and defending and building structures to defend against ice. You follow me? Meanwhile, there's an infinite life that's trying to emerge as you. There's a whole new world that's trying to emerge as us. So in order for us to truly become free and empowered and fulfill our destiny and be the light in the world and in our family and create a world that really works for the highest good of all, we have to start to become extracted from the world of appearance, from the simulation. And we have to stop trying to save the world and save our own life and start serving what's emerging. We have to become more interested in the light of our being and the wisdom that's embodied in the light of our being, the perfect pattern of infinite potential that is planted in the soil of our soul, and be the gardeners of that. Who am I really? What am I really alive for? What is the truth about me? What is life really up to as me? Yeah, I see the epidemics. I see the economic challenges. I see the people, places, and things suffering. I see that. And I'm going to be of service and a good steward of that to mitigate the downside, to bring compassion. I'm not going to reject it. I'm not going to resist it. I'm not going to fight it, fear it, or flee it, or freeze in the face of it. But I'm also not going to live based on it. I'm not going to let what drives my life forward or upward or downward to be conditions, appearances, or effects. As Jesus said, judge not by appearances, but judge righteous judgment. Stop trying to fix the world, change the world, worry about the world, and seek first the kingdom of heaven within and its righteousness, which means the right understanding of truth and principles. And all those things you were striving after will be the byproducts. They will be added unto you. Buddha taught a similar thing. Krishna taught a similar thing. Hinduism, Judaism, Christianity, Taoism. If you go to the root of all the great teachings, they're all trying to extract us so that we can be in the world, meaning we're participating. We're instruments and channels and transparencies of light and love and ultimate reality, but we are not of it. We are not of it. My kingdom is not of this world. I don't come from materiality. Therefore, I am not under the law of materiality. I'm not under the law of materia medica. I'm not under the laws of just merely of biology. I do not come from my mother's womb. I came through it. I do not come from a material body. I'm using it as a vehicle. I do not come from the history of my father and his father and my mother and her mother. I came through them, but I come from one father, mother, one infinite life and light. I am the one and only begotten of life itself. I come from eternity, from infinity, from immortal and eternal and unconditional, indestructible, uncorruptible life and love and truth, beauty and abundance. I come from the same place everything else came from before the Big Bang. You follow me? That's where I come from. Before Abraham was, I am. And so that's what we want to begin to root ourselves in, the truth of our being. And that truth, which is the truth about all of us, wants to emerge in a unique and unprecedented way as you. A unique download of a quality of life and love and truth. A unique work of art and mastery of how life, the face of love, wants to show itself as you. And it is not limited, hindered, blocked, delayed, or denied by anything in history, in memory, in fantasy, or in present moment conditions. I really want you to get that. Conditions are coagulated thoughts. They have no power. All substance, all life, all law is in you. I am the way and the truth and the light. I am the meat, the wine, the water, and the bread. I, the great I am at the center of your being, is the source of all creation. And you are a unique instrument of that. You are a branch of the tree of life, and that tree is not rooted in material, mental, emotional, historical, temporal conditions. It's rooted in eternity. It's rooted in infinity. It drinks from the deep, eternal well of life that never runs dry. That's who you are. That's where you're really rooted. And so you want to step out of the simulation of the mind. You want to take time every day to do what we did in the beginning of this talk, where you want to breathe, consciously let go of the past, memory, let go of the future, fantasy, let go of present conditions and imagination, feel the tenses of time fall off your shoulders, and feel a moment of relief and release and peace, and maybe even expansion. And sometimes you'll even feel a bliss or a joy begin to bubble up. And then breathe. And as you radiate that to fill your body, then radiate that into every part of your life, and then radiate that into every part of the world. And say, may all beings be blessed exceedingly. May all creatures and all of creation be blessed, including me. And then move on with your day, and then stop again, maybe once an hour for 30 seconds, a minute, and do it again. I call it the 1 minute mystic. And as you do that throughout the day, and if it's really intense, do it more often, you're beginning to create a new subjective habit. You're beginning to make that feeling tone, all needs met, nothing missing, no problem, I'm whole, I'm complete, I'm now. That becomes your signature vibration. And then it carries into the next moment and the next moment. And to he or she who has, more shall be given and it shall be multiplied. Whereas every time you allow yourself to get lost in the fantasy and the memory and the imagination and what's missing, lacking, or wrong, now you fall into the law of to he or she who has not. Even what they have will be taken away and they will be cast into darkness. Because it's about where you're living in consciousness. Are you living in I have, I am, I can, I am able, it's happening, it's done? Or are you living in I don't have, I can't, I am not able, it's lacking, it's missing, it's not happening? And every moment with this little practice, you can recalibrate. You can tune in again to that station, KGOD, K-joy instead of killjoy, K-R-I-C-H, K-rich instead of K-L-A-C-K, K-lack. You get to decide. And eventually, it builds a subjective groove. You create a preset button on the dial of your consciousness, and you can go there whenever you need to, and then eventually that's where you live predominantly. And because it is done unto you as you believe, life will begin to pour itself around that frequency, and according to your divine seed pattern, it will begin to emerge as breakthroughs, as miracles, as healings, as whatever is manifesting that vibration. And it will not matter what the outer conditions are. You will become a pioneer, a frontier, a frontiers person, a light. You will make a way where no way appeared to be. That presence will go before you to make the rough places smooth and the crooked places straight, exalt the valleys, lower the mountains, and make a path in the seeming desert for the unfoldment of your destiny. I'm telling you what I know. Can you feel that with me right now? And then one by one and two by two, that frequency will become contagious. Because it's a higher law. As I am lifted up, I draw all unto me. And you will become the rising tide in the collective consciousness of your family, your community, your business, and beyond that will lift everybody else too. This, my friend, is how we create a world that works. This is how we heal the world. This is how we stop merely asking questions and become the answer. I hope this has served you. I love you and I appreciate you. Share this. Comment below how you're going to be a stand. Share this so we can build a critical mass of this consciousness of wholeness and abundance and real power. And until next time, remember, live authentically, love unconditionally, and follow your destiny.